Welcome back, Junkies on 106.7 The Fan. Coming up at 8:40, Greg Bedard's going to join us, NFL writer for TheMMQB.com. Spent some time in Richmond last week. We'll kind of get his perspective on what he saw out of Jay Gruden's first camp here in Washington, and he's taken over for Mike. On Johnny Manziel, so we'll talk to him about Johnny football, and then Fred Funk joins us at 9:20. So we're packed with guests later in the show. But there's a story about the Ebola outbreak, and apparently in West Africa, there have been nearly 700 deaths since February, and a couple of Americans have now contracted the virus. So people are starting to sweat the Ebola. Now, during the break, we were talking about it, and I'm kind of in Lurch's camp. I don't really worry about the Ebola virus. It just doesn't even enter my brain.
I sleep on it.
I sleep on it. I have plenty of worries.
I think most people do.
But don't you feel horrible for people that are affected by this, that have to deal with this on any level?
I feel horrible for
or does
anybody
it not
who
register
has,
with you?
I feel horrible for anybody who has any virus to some extent. Because the other extent is can't care about people you don't
But hold
know.
on, you don't read a story where you see...
You can't care about people you don't care about.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, particularly people you don't know, and they're in another country, another continent.
I mean, I'm glad it's not me or anybody in my family.
Well, obviously everybody thinks that. But when you read a story and you see, oh, my God, Ebola virus has killed 500 people in, I don't know, Zaire or something, you don't look at that and go, that's just horrible.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't think
As a human being, you look at that and go, oh, my God, can you imagine the kids, the parents? You know,
well, yeah, I mean, we talked about the story yesterday. We talked about the story yesterday where the guy was walking down the beach and he got hit on the head by a plane and died.
Right.
Horrible story, but, you know, what are you going to do?
Right, it's horrible. We acknowledge that.
I mean, these doctors and this aid worker chose to go over there. And
the doctors are heroes beyond words.
Okay, I agree.
I can't even emphasize, we're not cut from the same cloth at all.
We're not. But again, he did choose to go over there to work with these patients.
On a heroic humanitarian mission.
Now, they say the Ebola virus is alarmingly contagious. I guess the fear would be, could it easily come to the United States and spread like wildfire?
Of course.
I sleep on that. I saw the movie Outbreak. I've seen other movies.
Did you read Stephen King's, was it The Stand?
Or The Stand. I've seen other movies.
Like the one book I read.
Where they try and convince you that the world is going to go down from some virus that we can't solve.
Yeah, of course.
Well, the guy who...
I'm not buying it.
They said that the guy who... I don't know where he contracted it. He showed no symptoms. He got on a plane. He showed no symptoms when he got on the plane in, I want to say it was Sierra Leone, maybe it was Liberia. And he flew to Nigeria.
Right.
And by the time he got off the plane in Nigeria, he was deathly ill.
Right.
So everybody on that plane
has been exposed
to it.
Now, what kind of exposure do you need to contract it?
I thought it was airborne. I thought it was just like
you breathe,
like
sneeze,
like how you transfer the flu to somebody.
Yeah. Jason might want to worry about one of them. So there are 6 strands of the Ebola virus. 5 of them, I believe 5 of the 6 strands are only found in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
A 6th, it says ravaged monkey populations in the Philippines. No humans have ever contracted it. But you don't know what it's called.
I saw it's called the Reston virus.
The Reston virus.
Right. It's not named after Reston, Virginia.
It's right over there at the Reston Town Center.
But I sleep on it because I think they discovered Ebola in 1976 or sometime soon after that. But, you know, have we had an outbreak in this country since 1976?
I
don't think so. Drab, have we had any cases in this country of Ebola?
I don't think so.
Right. I sleep on it. I'm sorry.
You sleep
do.
on the
But
outbreak.
that's a perfect example of how you can't. Some donk in Nigeria gets it, hops on a plane, he lands over in D.C. at Dulles, and everyone's got it.
But it hasn't happened.
It's not that easy to get.
No, but the USA...
it's only a matter of time.
The USA Today has a headline that says, Ebola only a plane ride away from USA.
Of course they say that. Look, everything is a close call. Let's worry about asteroids that are going to destroy the planet. If you buy into all of this,
hold on.
It's possible, but it's not likely.
Ebola virus symptoms start, if you believe Wikipedia, and I know any donk can update Wikipedia, symptoms start 2 days to 3 weeks after contracting the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So easily, some donk could be over there on a humanitarian mission or whatever, visiting a relative, hop on a plane, New York City, Boom! All of Manhattan, Dunsky. It hits New York City, we're all dying.
Well,
Except,
I don't think
100%
it's.
chance.
I don't think
except
it's
they
that
say
easy.
it's just like another virus if you catch it early. It's like influenza.
Well, they do say that 62%,
Yeah, but the problem is-
62% who get it die.
Yeah.
because they don't catch it early.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
60% of people
That's a lot higher than
die
the,
from the flu?
Yeah.
No, typically no.
I just know about 3 months ago, this area was ravaged by this.
Bullet fever, we're crazy about our home team. Bullet fever, every year they play tough.
Well, you're talking about outbreaks. I didn't get to the story on the Junkies Blitz. This story I find actually more interesting than Ebola. Tells you what I think. Cam Thomas is defensive lineman on the Steelers, and he's now being sued for allegedly giving herpes to his partner.
Who is? Who's Cam Thomas?
Again, a Steelers
some-
defensive
Just some
lineman.
donk that
You
we've
say it
never
so
heard
fast, I don't catch it.
According to the lawsuit, a woman named Adrienne says that she started dating Thomas in 2010, and they often had unprotected sex. Shocker.
right.
They probably always had unprotected sex. When you say you often had unprotected sex, do you think they ever
Well, I
had
think once
protected
you-
sex?
I think once you cross over, like you probably start out protected, but then once you cross the line into unprotected, there's no going back.
Right. So she claims that she noted pus-filled bumps on his
Oh.
buttocks
Oh my
and inner
god!
thigh.
Oh my god! Have you ever seen like
He
pictures?
said
I mean,
that-
it's the worst.
He said that the bumps were the result of sweat buildup caused by his football gear.
All right.
She then noticed bruises and sores on his junk.
Oh,
But again, he had an explanation, said that the sores on his junk came from getting it stuck in his zipper.
that's a good
He's
answer.
a terrible liar.
Well, it's
She
good
then
enough-
claims that she was tested for STDs in December of 2010, but the results showed that she was clean. But then 2 years later, in February 2012, she tested positive for genital herpes, and she claims that Thomas, who she was tagging 2 years before, who had the
Gave it
bumps
to
on
her?
his bruises and his junk, and
I
had
think
all
they
these
say
weird
sometimes that can
explanations.
happen. You can have like a latent,
It was
you
just
know,
dormant.
yeah, like 2 years later, all of a sudden you test positive.
Getting back to the Ebola, Drab, do we know anything about the patients, the American patients? Are they in critical condition? Are they stable? What do we know about their condition right now?
I'll find out for you. I don't know.
Dr. Kent Brantley, who's from Texas, and Nancy Wrightbowl, who's from, I believe she's from Charlotte, North Carolina.
By the way, again,
They are the healthcare workers who have it.
I can't overstate.
You don't worry about it. I know you're acting like you do, but you don't worry about
No,
it. When you
I
go
don't
home,
worry about
you don't worry about
Ebola
Ebola.
virus on a daily basis.
He can't squeeze it in with all the other worries.
I have plenty of things
He's
to
too
worry
worried
about.
about getting another SUV.
But I don't think it's preposterous to believe that some virus of some sort is going to end up in Manhattan and because some guy got on an airplane and then we're all going to freaking die. I don't think it's preposterous
I don't
to
think
think
we're
that.
all going to die because there have been
62% of us.
there have been such a low number of cases worldwide.
Okay, it
since
doesn't have
they've-
to be Ebola.
Okay,
There's a
all right.
billion viruses.
Well, for most viruses, there's maybe not a cure, but you can survive
contain it.
And with this Ebola virus, if the World Health Organization knows that you have it, they quarantine the hell out of those people.
Of course they
They're
do.
not getting out.
But that's once they already know.
Correct. But I think that this guy that was on the flight to Nigeria, okay, those people have been exposed to it, I assume. But I assume that those people are being quarantined now
We've all
too.
been
to being
tested,
tested.
and quarantined, I'm sure.
I don't think it's getting beyond whoever
I'm
was
not
on that
worried
plane.
about this particular instance. Okay?
It just scares you because it's an American, right?
It doesn't scare me at all because I don't think in this instance we're in jeopardy. I'm just saying, in theory, this kind of thing could go bad.
In theory, it could happen.
Maybe not
here.
in this instance.
I just don't think it's as easy as you think.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Sean in DC. Sean, what's up? You're on with the Junkies.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Rescue Ebola is named after Reston, Virginia. It's the subject of the book Hot Zone,
Okay.
and it was a really aggressive, moving form of the virus that killed off a bunch of the monkeys they had in a testing facility in Reston, Virginia.
Oh, is
If
that?
you
I
ever
didn't
wanna-
know that.
It's a nonfiction book. If you ever want to read a scary, real story, you should check that out because it talks about how all the biosafety fail-safes failed.
All right, well,
and they almost
but
had a
the
major
monkeys,
outbreak right
but
here.
the monkeys got it in the Philippines.
Yeah, I mean, they brought it back and did tests 15 miles away from D.C. in Reston. The company had it there, and they were doing tests on it, and then all the biosafety protocols started failing because the virus mutated, and they almost had a major outbreak right here, like right outside D.C.
Yeah,
Right.
Manny Pacquiao went to the Reston
Great.
Town Center and brought it over to the Philippines.
All right, that's
Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
news,
Sean.
News to me.
Let's go to Alex in D.C. Alex, good morning. You're on with the Junkies. How are you?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
What's up,
Hey.
buddy?
So I was doing some reading yesterday because I saw the movie Contagion a couple years ago. Freaked me out.
Uh-huh.
I was like, we're all going to die. But then I read that Ebola, you only start getting contagious once you show major symptoms. So the only time you're contagious is when you get really sick.
Right.
By the
That's
time
good.
you get really sick, they contain you. And the reason that this outbreak has happened in Africa is because the infrastructure in those hospitals aren't very good. So it's easily spread there. But apparently the reason that it would never spread in the U.S., this instance, only Ebola, is because our hospitals are much better. It's, first world country, developed country. So we would basically be able to contain it immediately once one or two people
Right.
got it, as opposed to Africa where it's a little more
I hear
developing
you.
country, a
But-
little out of control.
I hear you. So let's say, okay, Ebola doesn't have to be something that Americans have to worry about. But the notion that some sort of virus could come over here and be spread before you are sort of very, very symptomatic, that possibility does exist.
It's possible.
Well, isn't that the movie Contagion, though?
I didn't see that movie.
Yeah, there are a lot of
Well,
movies like this.
I think that was The Stand, the Stephen King book was about that, right?
Sure,
Or
there
you
are a
gotta
lot
watch
of books
Contagion.
and movies with premise like just like this. To me, it's fiction. I mean, it can happen.
think
It's
it's
certainly
fiction.
a clear possibility. But when's the last time something happened this on a massive scale? You have to go back to like plagues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look,
which
I-
what, I mean, what 100 years ago
What
or
about
something?
SARS?
It doesn't,
Okay.
doesn't mean it couldn't happen.
How many people did SARS knock off? I'm telling you, it's just,
It's
Can
not
you tell
that-
me, was it
it's not that
thousands?
big
Was
of
it
a deal in this
millions?
country.
I don't know. I got to Google it.
If we lived in Liberia, it'd be a huge deal.
Let me ask you this: Do you worry
But we
about?
don't. We
do
live
you
here.
worry about?
Our medical technology is not. It's a one seed.
Do you worry about MRSA? Or is that how they pronounce it?
no,
No, I don't worry
You know,
about
you
it.
go into the gym, you work out, you get that on you.
no, I don't
I
worry
just think
about
it's
it.
rare. It's extremely rare to get that.
I think it is rare, but it's resistant to antibiotics and everything. You
You
get that.
worry about it?
Luckily I work out in my own gym at home. I don't worry about it. But if I worked out in gyms all the time and I was in public showers all the time, I would worry about it a little bit. Yeah, I think it's kind of a show.
Well, MRSA is a lot different than Ebola.
Well, it's a similar concept.
Well, no, because you can get MRSA at the Golds in Ashburn.
Exactly.
You can't get. You're not getting Ebola at the
I'm
Golds
not
in
worried
Ashburn.
about Ebola. I
Okay.
told you I told you from the beginning I'm not worried about Ebola.
Right, and again, you can survive MRSA.
Yeah.
Ebola, you got
could
about
also
a,
get an
you got a
arm
6
cut
in 10
off.
chance of losing your life.
Right. I'm not worried about Ebola.
Truth is, I care more about Bowl, and that is the story which we didn't get to yesterday of Manute Bowl's kid, who's like 6'7" and entering high school next year. And videos emerged of him
Is he a
dunking
baller?
all over the place.
He's very
Kind
awkward.
of runs
He's very awkward.
awkwardly.
Okay, well, so did his dad.
Yeah.
His dad could
Put
barely
it this
run.
way, it looks like his dad. But he does have a little bit of handle, and he does hit an occasional three.
Mhm.
And he does
Like his
drive-
dad did.
It's very awkward and drives to the basket. Maybe block shots. He does a little of it all. It's just very awkward.
First name Bowl, last name Bowl.
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 Bowl. Yeah, Google bowl.
Care about him more than Ebola.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, coming up next, what does Michael Jordan think of LeBron wearing his number?
106.